Hello, I'm Max in Presence, and this is Indigo Minute. I'm here to discuss the concept of doubt with you. Doubt is a energetic that is designed to stop manifestation. So the better that you understand it, the easier your manifestations will manifest. Basically, doubt pretends to be you when it's speaking to you. And it's at such a subtle level that I'm going to have to explain this from multiple different perspectives to really understand the gravity of switching your perspective of doubt as an aspect that's speaking from you to doubt as an enemy that's literally not you. When you change your perspective and look at doubt as an external enemy that's pretending to be you to stop your manifestations, you will no longer buy into it at that subtle level. And I'll give you an example right now. For example, let's say that you are looking to manifest a new car, and this car is expensive for your budget, but it's a car that you really are passionate about manifesting. What the manifestation process says is to begin to envision yourself as that individual that already has that car, and to feel the feelings and think the thoughts that that individual would feel, and put yourself in that state of being of having the car and feeling what it feels like to have it. Now, doubt, as a cunning enemy that it is, will go infiltrate that visualization, that inner reality, and it will say in your voice that that's not possible for you. That's too big of a manifestation. That's too much out of your budget. That's too unrealistic. It's literally not something you should be doing because it's a waste of your time. It's not real. Doubt will say all of those things in your voice. But the perspective shift here is that it's not your voice. It's not you. That's not actually you saying that, because you are the creator of the entire matrix, including your character. So you, the real you, the presence, the I am presence, the you that is all powerful, all knowing, all loving, which is here right now, that you can 100% without a shadow of a doubt manifest that car, that reality, if it's genuinely exciting. So the doubt isn't coming from that you, because who you really are doesn't actually have that kind of, it's not possible for it to not be able to manifest it. It is it. You know what I'm saying? So the doubt is actually an enemy. It's a shadow aspect that is mechanically designed to make you, to try to convince you, the creator, that you are actually this smaller character being and you don't have power, and that you can't manifest that. See, it's an identity shift that doubt convinces you of. It convinces you of being small, because it's saying you can't do that. You're not all that is. But the reality is you are all that is. You are that presence. Not only are you the presence, the whole reality, but you're the character as well. So you can be an empowered character knowing that you, as that higher self, has your own back. best interest in mind. And you can work with your higher self, with your presence, to manifest anything, any reality, because they all exist. And the way you'll manifest them is by being excited about them, being really excited about them. So doubt, its job is to actually stop your excitement. It's to stop the manifestation, because if the excitement is allowed to continue into that image, into that fantasy of that expensive car, then that will manifest. But doubt wants to trick you using smoke and mirrors, literally using your own voice. It's as if it's so subtle, and I want you to really pay attention to it, pay attention to it, pay attention to it when it arises in your daily experience, because you'll notice yourself doing this a lot on various levels of things in your life. And I know you know what I'm talking about. So when that doubt comes and starts to say things like, in your own voice, as if it's you, but it's not you. The real you doesn't have those limits. The real you doesn't have that lack. So again, it's that identity shift. You have to always know who you are, that all-powerful presence. You are that. Don't be conned into thinking you're just this small, insignificant being. You are that small being, but you're also that greater being right now. So you don't lose your small identity, you add your big identity to your small identity and act as one. So the doubt, its job is to con you into separation consciousness, into feeling like you're separate from that infinite, eternal you. Now, when you look at doubt, when you understand this at the mechanical level, that knowing that doubt isn't actually you, any kind of judgment that you have on yourself about anything isn't actually your voice. It's not your true self talking. It's the doubt, it's the separation aspect that is literally the only enemy you have. That separation consciousness, or sometimes people call it the death consciousness, it's not life consciousness. It's not expansive. It wants to stop expansion. The doubt wants you to be like compacted into yourself, like doing nothing, withering away and dying, you know? So it's truly your greatest enemy and foe. And it's one of the extensions of that separation consciousness. It's one of the main extensions of, if not the main weapon of separation consciousness, is that doubt. And what's fascinating to me is how expansive we can get when we shed these layers of doubt, how expansive we can get in our creative ability. When it reminds me of a quote from the Bible, actually, or a scene from the Bible when Jesus was out in the sea with his disciples, and it was stormy, and there was a lot of crazy waves, and they basically look out, and Jesus is in the water walking towards them, and Peter, I believe, jumps out of the boat to like try to get him, or out of excitement, and he starts walking on the water too, but then he realizes, almost kind of like that Coyote Roadrunner, he realizes he's on the water walking, and that's actually shouldn't be possible, and he starts to fall in the water, and he's like drowning in the water with these big waves. And Jesus walks up to him calmly, extends his hands and says, "Why did you doubt? Why do you doubt?" he says. And it speaks to this really important perspective shift that everyone must make in seeing doubt as your greatest enemy, because it's that doubt that stopped Peter from believing in his greatest self as him to be able to walk on that water. And there's layers to this doubt, of course. You can get so expansive that you can actually start to embody the almighty presence. But you can, work, and that would be, I'm sure you would need to experience so much of existence to do that. But on a smaller perspective, from our perspective, you can at least start to remove some doubt and start to move more into that quasi-physical perspective that Jesus and Buddha and Krishna and all these great avatars were able to do, is because their levels of doubt weren't as deep. And on a basic level, you can use that to even more quote unquote mundane things, although nothing is actually mundane, everything is miraculous, literally. But things like not doubting small actions that you take in conversations, not doubting what you create, not doubting yourself and what you can create for yourself. So I found that fascinating, that when I shifted my perspective to recognizing that doubt uses my own voice to convince me of limitation, convince me of holding limitation consciousness, when I realized that any judgment, literally, any judgment, any lack or belief in something not possible is literally doubt in disguise, in your own voice, using your own belief system to try to convince you into separation, death consciousness, lack consciousness. And I can tell you right now that once you label doubt as your enemy, greatest enemy, and see it as these things that I just mentioned, then you'll notice it right away when it comes. You'll notice when you're judging yourself, and you'll be like, that's not me judging me, that's the enemy doubt actually trying to infiltrate my consciousness, my field, into convincing me into identify with a separate death consciousness perspective. Like, I'm not a small being, I am that I am. So the doubt becomes an instant, you can then instantly basically defend yourself, or not even defend, but neutralize it. Like, you instantly know that's not your voice, you know that it's an enemy, so you instantly don't buy into it energetically. You just know that you don't judge. You instantly stop the judgment because you know it's not you that's judging. You instantly stop believing in the lack because you know that that's not your voice. Who you really are doesn't have lack, it doesn't have judgment. It is everything, it has everything. You are everything, you have everything. And that's that constant reminder and that shift that we're making into the next evolution of humanity, basically, is to become that more multidimensional perspective of having a consciousness that includes all that is, and not sees itself as separate to everything it's looking at. So doubt will literally do the best it can, but it uses your energy to do its work, to work in the shadows, to be cunning and stealthy. So once you realize that it's your enemy and you label it, lack, judgment, sickness, all of those things are doubt. If you label those things as doubt, as your enemy, then you won't buy into them. You won't buy into that limitation consciousness, and you'll instantly stop it in its tracks. And the more times you do that consistently, you'll start to build a belief system that will automatically then do it for you. At first, you have to use your own willpower to do it, but when you make that label, when you define it as that enemy, it will take less willpower even than it did ever before, which is what I'm kind of explaining. What I'm explaining here as like a new insight is that label it as your enemy because it'll be easier to not buy into it. So experiment with this in your daily life and really meditate on it so it could really sink into your energetic field. And the more you do this, the more you drop the judgment, drop the lack consciousness, drop the identification with being this separate thing, the easier it will be for your own belief system to do it automatically for you. And then you could start to expand and build up your consciousness to even higher heights, like I'm talking about with this multi-dimensional perspective and beyond. So very exciting times. Doubt is definitely one of the main tools of the dark side. So as you're aware of it, then you will be won't buy into it, and that will create the capacity for you to hold way more light and way more power and that wisdom and love that is emanating from your presence. So into your character, which you're identifying with as well. So thank you for listening. I'm wishing you so much love and many, many blessings. Until next time, experiment with this, think about this, and let me know what you think. Peace and much love.